Hey friends, here we are closing out another year together. I thought it would be really helpful if we took a look back and pulled our very favorite dinner recipes from the entire year and put them into one easy to find video. Now, this was not an easy task. I usually share 3 to 4 recipes every week. That's at least 150-ish recipes to go through, but I think you're going to love the ones that me and Patrick have decided on. We've got casseroles, skillet meals, air fryer dishes, chicken, beef, fish, pasta, and any flavor profile you can think of. And each one is one of the very best dinner recipes of 2024. Today we're going to make a chicken ranch white cheddar macaroni and cheese. We're starting by frying up some bacon, and I'm getting the water boiling for our noodles. And I'm using the small shell pastas. I absolutely love these little bitty ones, and I'm going to pour in 8 ounces, about half of this box.
Our burnt bacon.
Our burnt bacon. Patrick was frying our bacon, and we saw some deer outside. They're kind of hiding in the bushes, but
We got to looking at deer instead of frying bacon.
we did, didn't we? And we're only going to need about 4 slices of this bacon. But if we're frying bacon, might as well fry the whole package, and we won't have to do it later this week for breakfast. We've got our bacon finished off. Just going to lay that aside. And my mama didn't raise no fool, so I'm going to use this bacon grease to cook my chicken instead of putting oil in this skillet. It's going to give us some great flavor. If you don't have any bacon grease, you can just put, a couple tablespoons of just olive oil down here. But I'm going to get all my little chicken pieces coated in this grease and oil. Then I'm going to sprinkle it with about 2 tablespoons of some dry ranch seasoning. This is about the equivalent of one of the envelopes. Just going to toss these around and get them coated. And like I said, I'm using 2 really large chicken breasts that I've already chunked up. You can use up to 4 breasts in this recipe. It's really just up to how much chicken you want in your dish. We're just going to let these cook up about 3 or 4 minutes on each side. We want to make sure they're cooked all the way through to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. Now that this chicken is cooked all the way through, I'm just going to remove it to a plate, and you can cover it with aluminum foil. You just want to kind of try to keep it warm. Honestly, what I usually do is just stick it up in the microwave and close the door. Now that my chicken's cooked, I am going to clean my skillet out here, and we're going to make our cheese sauce right in here. I'm going to melt in 1/4 cup of butter, and I've got my skillet on about a medium heat right now. Now we're going to put in about 1/4 cup of flour. We're going to whisk this together with this butter for a couple of minutes. It'll get kind of thick and it'll turn a pretty sort of golden color. And I'm just using regular old self-rising flour because that's all that I ever keep on hand. I just don't use plain flour. Now that we've got our thickener all cooked up, I'm going to stir in 1.5 cups of milk. I'm using whole vitamin D milk here. Going to turn my heat up just a little bit, but we're going to stir this together and whisk it about 5 minutes. We want this milk mixture to get nice and thick and creamy like. You can see this is already getting really nice and thick, so I'm going to throw my seasonings in here. I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of salt, just about 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, just the littlest bit. We're going to pull out that ranch seasoning again, and we're going to use 2 tablespoons of this in our sauce mixture. So let's get all that combined. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the heat off of this. It is nice and thick. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to sit it back here off the heat completely. I've got about 1/4 cup of white cheddar cheese, and I'm just going to grate it right over this saucepan into this. White cheddar is becoming one of my favorite cheeses in macaroni and just about everything. I'm really loving the white cheddar cheese. We're also going to use about 1/4 cup of mozzarella cheese, and I'm just using some pre-shredded in a bag. I have no shame in the pre-shred game. Now, let's get all this stirred in to our sauce and get it cheesy and velvety and creamy. And you know, I didn't pepper this anywhere, and I love black pepper and white cheddar mac and cheese. So let's get that going. Now we're going to pour our shells right over into this. I need a spoon, hang on. And I left just a smidgen of that pasta water in here with my shells to just kind of loosen up my sauce a little bit and help it to stir together. It's always good to reserve just a little bit of pasta water in case you need to loosen up your sauces when you're making them. Now, let's get the rest of those noodles. And one other thing I wanted to show you is if you are short on time, you can absolutely use a boxed white cheddar mac and cheese or the refrigerated, who makes that? I can't remember who it is right now, but you know what I'm talking about. You could definitely use those and just season it up like I have today. And there is no problem with that. I've done that a million times. But you know what? I had everything to make this sauce. I had the time to mess with it. So I am going to save my convenience items for a day when I'm just in survival mode. That's when we really need to pull those things out, ain't it? I'm going to give it a taste just because I haven't tasted anything in here yet. It's not like me. Maddie's going to love that. That's good. Now I'm going to take this chicken that I've been keeping warm in the microwave. I'm just going to put it all over the top of this, getting down and dirty and using my hands. Then I'm taking some of that bacon that we made, and I like to leave bigger chunks, and I'm just breaking it off and putting it all over. This is going to be a rustic dish, ain't it, babe?
Uh-huh. Looks good, though.
It does. It tastes good, too. The macaroni, anyway. I mean, why make little chunks? I could have just used the pre-cooked bacon pieces. Let's make it big and chunky. I just like to top everything with a little something green, so I'm just using some dried parsley over the top of this. And let's get it cleaned up a little bit here around the edges and get it ready for its close-up.
It is very pretty. It's very pretty. It's a little different.
What do you mean?
It's just different, but it's good.
Is it too ranchy?
No, the taste is good.
I put chicken in white macaroni a lot of times, but I've got sauteed vegetables in there too. This is just pure meat and cheese.
Maybe that's why I like it.
It might be. It's ranchy too.
It's very good.
Think of anything you'd like in there?
No, not right off.
I thought about steaming broccoli. Well, you could have it on the side or not, but I thought I might like broccoli down, on it too.
Only thing I could think of would be more bacon.
More bacon, of course. You know what else I thought would be good on it is some little cherry tomatoes diced up, some tomatoes. You couldn't make anything any creamier or more delicious than this right here. I loved serving everything up on the top of it like this. And it was funny, a little bit later, Patrick said, a crunchy topping, how you do that sometimes, that might be good on that too. And normally when I make a dish like this, I stir everything down into it and put a crunchy coating on the top. And that's what I was thinking that he might like here. Add veggies or not, it's perfect to customize and very easy to cut in half if you have a smaller family. It's got me dreaming about those cozy fall nights to come. Every December, I spend a lot of time going through the recipes from the year and organizing them into best of videos like this one. The rest of my time is fully spent on creating holiday content, like the easy Christmas treats and appetizers. And while that is a really nice break from creating the normal what's for dinner content, we still have to eat supper. So this month, I have fallen back on some good old pantry meals that we haven't had in a long time. and I've taken full advantage of my subscription to HelloFresh. They're America's #1 meal kit with over 50 delicious chef-crafted recipes to choose from every week. I love that they have lots of options for me to customize our meals exactly to suit our taste. And thanks to HelloFresh, dinner's been just one less thing for me to have to think about this week. I chose our meals from their menu, and HelloFresh did all the shopping, delivered everything right to my door. I didn't have to look through recipes, make a list, go to the store, or any of that. Every HelloFresh recipe includes high-quality, fresh, and sustainably sourced ingredients that are already pre-portioned, making my prep work quick and easy. I usually choose something from their favorite Hall of Fame recipes and then something from the fast and fresh 15-minute meals like these chopped chicken Caesar sandwiches that I made today. And then Patrick chooses just whatever looks good to him, and that's almost always something from the premium line with meat and potatoes. You caught me already started. This is delicious. Fast. Super flavorful. This little sandwich is right up my alley. I love it with the corn chips. You can scoop up all that you drop. Plus, HelloFresh Market offers over 100 items that you can add to your weekly box, like these little waffles, which we absolutely love. They have a crunchy cinnamon coating on the outside, but they've got lots of other breakfast, snacks, drinks, and lots more to choose from. It's great to cut down on trips to the grocery store, especially during the holidays.
Boy, that's very good.
And here's a look at some of my HelloFresh recipe cards. They might be familiar to you. That's because I've recreated some of my favorites with my own twist on them and shared them here with you guys over the years. Of course, HelloFresh has a very generous offer for my viewers. You can get up to 10 free meals and free shipping on your first box at HelloFresh.com with code MOMMA10FM. Free meals applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals and free shipping. Just go to HelloFresh.com with code MOMMA10FM. And thank you, HelloFresh, for being a longtime sponsor on the channel. Today, we're going to make a delicious honey mustard air fryer salmon. We're going to start with the marinade for our fish. We're going to start with 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of a whole grain mustard. If you only have Dijon mustard, that works fine too, but I love the whole grain mustard, especially going into fall. There's something about honey and whole grain mustard together that I just love. A 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. If you just have regular paprika, that is fine. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of lemon juice, and I'm also going to cut up some lemon slices to cook with my salmon as well. Add in just a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. The recipe says this marinade is plenty enough for 2 5 to 8 ounce salmon fillets. I have 3 fillets. They're fairly thin, but I have increased the measurements just a little bit because you want to have a little bit left over to glaze with at the end. I'm going to pour 2/3 of this mixture into a gallon-sized bag, and I'm going to let my fish marinate in this for about 30 minutes. We're going to make some green beans. This is the viral recipe from Jamie's Kitchen. I'm using a 10-ounce bag of frozen green beans. Use whatever size you need to feed your family and just adjust your seasonings to your taste. Drizzle the frozen green beans with a little bit of oil. We're going to sprinkle them with a little garlic powder. I like to season them with just a little bit of salt and, of course, black pepper. I love black pepper. Now just toss them around to get them coated. This is the perfect little hands-off side to have cooking while my salmon's marinating. Put them in a 400-degree oven for about 35 minutes. When we get them out, we're going to top them with some grated Parmesan cheese. Give them another little toss. You're good to go. I like to prep my air fryer tray with these aluminum foil sheets. When I run out of these, I'm going to look into ordering some of the silicone reusable ones on Amazon. They make them to fit pretty much every air fryer shape and style available. I like to spray it with a little bit of nonstick spray, and I'm cooking this salmon skin side down. I don't take it off. We don't eat it. You can, but I do like to leave it on there when I'm cooking it. Any of the marinade that is left in the bag, I'm going to go ahead and put it over the top of this salmon before I put it in the air fryer. And this is going to go in a preheated air fryer at 400 degrees for 7 to 8 minutes, just depending on the thickness of your salmon. You'll know it's done when you touch it with a fork and it starts to come apart where the white runs through the salmon. It's 145 degrees internal temperature. It shouldn't be so red anymore, but just a light pink color. Now I'm taking this little bit of reserved marinade that I kept out at the first and just putting it right over the top of our chicken. It's a pretty looking plate, but I have to be honest, Patrick, you'll probably not eat those green beans, will you?
Nah, I ain't really liking green beans that way.
It's not your southern style, is it?
The fish, though, looks great.
Uncle Ben made that rice just for you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's got a little kick there back into it.
Yeah. Are you eating the skin? You eat the skin on your salmon?
Are you not supposed to?
No, you can. I just never noticed you eating it before. I don't eat it. They say it's very good for you.
Very good.
Good. I'm glad you like it. You're welcome. Salmon is something I didn't cook a lot of until here recently, and it's a weeknight favorite now. I love to keep it in the freezer. It thaws quickly. It's very versatile. It's delicious and can take on any flavor. Super fast to cook, too. Today, I'm still on this tortellini kick. I don't know if they're multiplying in my pantry, but it seems like I've had more tortellini than I've had since lately. But today, we're making a cheesy beef enchilada tortellini skillet. Say that tongue twister a few times. Got a pound of ground beef started in the skillet. So let's see how to put this baby together. I'm going to boil this tortellini in some boiling water for about 13 to 14 minutes. I'm using this 4-cheese tortellini. This is actually shelf stable. This is from Target, and I've used out of it at least once before, so I'm probably using about 6 or 7 ounces here. The recipe does not call for this, but I am going to throw in a little bit of onion because I just think if you're cooking ground beef, you need onion and a little bit of garlic too. Not going to salt and pepper it because we are going to put some taco seasoning in here. Into my meat and onion mixture, I'm going to put a tablespoon of just a packaged taco seasoning. Feel free to make your own. That way you can control whatever's in it. But I'm just going to use what I have on hand. I'm also going to put in about a cup of water. You could use beef broth. You could really even use chicken broth if you wanted to, just to add a little bit more flavor in here. We're not going for an overpowering taco flavor here either. You just want a little bit of those Tex-Mex seasonings. I'm also going to put in about a 10-ounce can of enchilada sauce. If you had salsa instead of enchilada sauce, you could use that as well. But I do like the flavor of enchilada sauce, and I haven't used it in anything in a long time. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm also putting in 1 can of black beans that have been rinsed and drained. This is the first time that I have used this brand of low-sodium black beans, and they are from Publix, and I really like the looks of them. They're not black. They just look really good. I'm excited to try those. And I'm going to throw in just about half of this can of fire-roasted tomatoes, and I did drain these. Real careful like, I'm going to chunk these tomatoes up just a little bit more, because if you've been here a while, you know that Patrick Effler's really not a tomato guy. But I have been wanting to use these fire-roasted tomatoes for a while now, and I say all the time, I am learning more than I'm sharing wisdom. I mentioned that a long time ago in a video. I said I didn't use fire-roasted tomatoes because I didn't like a lot of spice. You guys told me they're not hot. It's just the way they're cooked. They have tons of flavor. I didn't realize that fire-roasted tomatoes were not hot. So I've been really anxious to throw them into anything that I can. Just getting all this mixed together, and I'm going to let this simmer here for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Now that my sauce has simmered and thickened up a little bit, I'm going to take this tortellini and just put it right over into this saucepan, and I'm just going to stir it in and get it all incorporated. While this is simmering just a little bit more, I'm going to top it with a little bit of cheese. You can use Monterey Jack. I think that would be delicious. Cheddar, whatever you have. I'm using a blend of some Colby and Monterey Jack cheese. Since I have a lid for this skillet, I'm just going to put the lid on the top to melt the cheese, but you could definitely stick this under the broiler in the oven if you have an oven-safe skillet, just to get it nice and melted and a little brown on top. Friends, don't let the easy preparation of this dish fool you. It was full of flavor. This was so good. Of course, if you wanted to substitute that tortellini for ravioli that you have on hand, that's going to work just fine. I topped mine with a little sour cream and green onions. This was so hearty and so filling and absolutely delicious. Today we're starting with 2 pounds of ground beef that I'm cooking up over on top of the stovetop. That's a lot more than I usually cook, but I'm actually doubling today's recipe. This is a crunch wrap casserole. You guys have seen me make the individual ones all the time in lots of different varieties, but this is the first time I'm attempting this casserole, and I'm doubling it. So I've got the ground beef cooking up. I'm also dicing up a really good size sweet Vidalia onion, and I'm going to get the excess grease out of my skillet before I put my onions in and get all of those all cooked up together. Now that my ground beef is all done and my onions are getting nice and softened, I'm going to add in 2 envelopes of taco seasoning. Just use your favorite. We're basically just making taco meat here, but we're not going to add quite as much water. I'm just using 1/3 of a cup per each pack, so a total of 2/3 cup water. Now let's get everything combined and coated and seasoned and let it simmer just a couple minutes, and we'll set it back here off the stove eye and put our little casserole together, or casseroles together. I've been seeing this casserole all over TikTok, and I've been thinking, now girl, that looks like something you could really screw up good. So we had to try it. Tonight we're having a family get together celebrating Patrick's birthday. So, you know, I'm just gutsy enough. I said, honey, let's make 2. So first time ever making these, we're gonna make 2, but you know what? I ain't scared. I ain't scared one bit. It's my family too, and they love me. If I mess it up, you know what? There's a Pizza Hut right down the road. So I ain't too worried about it. We're going to make these in 2 9x13 pans. I've melted about 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to use half of it in this pan and half of it in that pan. Just want to coat the bottom really well, and we want to go up the sides too. This will make it pretty and brown, and it'll also keep it from sticking. I've also seen this done on a really big sheet pan, and I thought about doing that because I'm feeding a lot of people. But I'll just be honest with you, I liked the looks of it nice and thick in the 9x13. I'm taking about 5 flour tortillas, and you do want them hanging off the sides a little bit, because we're going to end up folding this back over. And for reference, I'm using these burrito size flour tortillas. So I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like it's taken me 5 to get my bottom covered and leaving the sides hanging out. That sounds funny, don't it? We all want our bottoms covered, but we don't want our sides hanging out most of the time. I'm sorry, that just struck me funny. Bottom covered, sides hanging out. Okay, I've recovered now. I'm taking just plain old mild cheddar cheese. You can use any kind of cheese that you want, but we're going to put about 2 cups of this right here across the bottom. Going to spread it out and make sure that we get it all the way to the sides. Next, we're going to put in a layer of tomatoes, and I just chose to go with a canned petite diced tomato, just really to make it easier on myself. I did drain them the best I can. You don't want it, super soggy here. And if you want to, when you're making your ground beef, you can just stir these tomatoes right into your beef mixture. But I don't know, something that I really like about the Crunch Wrap is seeing all the different layers. I like that. So I wanted to keep them separate. Now that we have our tomatoes spread out real evenly, I'm taking 8 ounces of sour cream and just spreading it across the top. If you want to, you can put this down in a plastic bag and squirt it out. That makes it real easy, but I'm just smearing mine around. It's fine. Now, the very favorite part of the Crunch Wrap is the good old tostada. This does not have to be perfect. We're just gonna lay these down in here. Try to break that one. Looks like we are good and covered here. I'm just gonna go ahead and break this one up and use all of it. Then we're gonna take a 15-ounce can of just, nacho cheese sauce like you get at the ballpark. We didn't say this was a healthy recipe. We said this was a Crunch Wrap copycat Taco Bell casserole. I'm not heating this up because this is going to get heated in the oven. I'm just taking it right out of the can, spreading it all from side to side. Ain't there something just about ballpark nachos though? Nothing beats that taste. Now I'm taking half of the taco meat onion mixture and spreading it right over the top. Again, we're just getting it all evenly laid out here. This is smelling so good. I can't wait. Now I'm just gonna take one more of those big flour tortillas and we're just gonna start folding these in. A lot of folks that I have seen make this have had to use toothpicks in theirs to get it to stay closed. But so far, so good. Looks like mine's staying. Then I'm going to take the last little bit of butter I have left and brush it all across the top. So for each little Crunch Wrap casserole, you're using about 3 tablespoons of butter. 1.5 tablespoons on the bottom, and then 1.5 tablespoons on the top. I've also seen people just spray this with avocado oil spray or nonstick spray, but when I fry them up, I like to fry them in butter, so I'm using butter. Also, if this doesn't stay put, I've seen people bake it with a baking sheet over the top until this sticks, and then they'll take it off and continue to bake it. I'm going to put mine in a 350-degree oven, and I've seen people cook them at 350 and 375 for 30 minutes. This is how they're looking after 10 minutes, so I am going to increase my temperature to 375. After just 5 minutes at 375, this is how they're looking. I am going to cut it back down to 350, and I think I'm going to let it go about 10 more minutes, so it'll be a total of about 30 minutes. Here's what we came out with, friends. And you need to let them sit here for about 5 minutes, which is perfect because I'm transporting them over to my in-laws for the little get-together. So mine will sit for a good little bit. Then we're going to flip them out onto a cutting board, cut them into pieces. We're going to serve them up with lettuce and sour cream, guacamole, whatever everybody wants. Usually when I make Crunch Wraps, I put the lettuce inside, but I thought we would do it on the top because these may be sitting a little while before everybody's, able to get to them and ready to eat. I didn't want them to get, limp. I like that lettuce to still be crisp in there. I'm not a big guacamole fan. I love chopped avocados, but I just didn't like the guacamole dip. But recently I've been stirring in about half sour cream and half guacamole. Squeeze a little bit of lime juice on it, salt and pepper it, and mix that up, and it makes a delicious dip. It's much better than sour cream on its own or guacamole on its own. One of my recent HelloFresh recipes had me mix this little dip up, and I've loved it, and I've been hooked on it ever since. And this was so delicious. I will never fry them individually again. I can imagine how good it would have been right hot out of the oven, just sitting maybe 5 minutes. One of these days, I'm going to get to eat a crunch wrap when it's hot. The cook never gets to eat a hot one, but with this one, you do. And you can almost just eat this with your hand if you don't have to pile it full of stuff like I do. And the birthday boy, he actually said that he liked the casserole better than when I fry them individually. And that's saying a lot because we really love these crunch wraps. This was perfect for family dinner. We blew through the 2 of these with very few leftovers with our family. We're making a brand new recipe I've never tried before. It's a chicken and potato skillet meal with a Dijon cream sauce. We're going to start by preheating the oven to 375 degrees. I'm going to throw 2 tablespoons of butter and about a tablespoon of olive oil into a big, heavy-duty, oven-safe skillet. Let that start melting down. Meanwhile, I'm going to prep my chicken and my potatoes. These chicken breasts were really large, so I'm going to slice them and butterfly them in half. And I've got about half a pound of these little baby red potatoes. I'm just going to quarter them up into pieces that are all about the same size. You can use any baby potato you want. I just think the red will show up really nice in this skillet dish. Now I'm just going to give them a little drizzle with some olive oil. Season them up with some cracked black peppers, little salt, and probably a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Let's give it a good toss in here to get everything coated with oil and seasonings. Now I'm going to put them in our skillet here. Try to get them over to one side. Now I'm going to add in my chicken breast. And I think I'm just going to have room to do 3, which is fine. That's what I need. And that's actually what the recipe called for. For my chicken breast, I'm just going to put a little oil on the top of them. And we're going to season them with the same seasoning. We're going to give it black peppers, a little dash of salt, and some Italian seasoning. And I'm basically just going to leave this cooking right here like it is for about 3 or 4 minutes. Then we'll come back, flip it over, season the other side of the chicken, and cook it 3 or 4 minutes on that side. It does not have to be completely cooked. We're going to finish this off in the oven. We're just getting a nice start on everything. After that cooked 3 or 4 minutes, just going to remove our chicken and our potatoes over to another plate. You want to cover it and keep it warm, but I just stick mine in the microwave and close the door to keep it warm. Now to make our sauce, we're going to use this same skillet. I reduced my heat probably to medium now instead of medium-high. I'm melting in 1 tablespoon of butter. Going to add in about a teaspoon of garlic. Just going to let that cook for just about a minute until it's nice and fragrant. Now I'm going to add in 1 cup of chicken broth. I'm going to eyeball me about 2 tablespoons of the Dijon mustard. And let's add in 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Going to give it just a little bit more black pepper. Now let's just get everything all whisked together. The chicken broth that I used, I made it from a base, and it's pretty salty, so that's why I didn't add any more salt. But I don't think I could ever get enough black pepper. I love it. The recipe didn't say how long you should cook this. I think it's going to thicken up some actually in the oven. That's what my mind says. So I've let mine just come to a nice little kind of steady cook here in the middle. You can see it bubbling. And I'm just going to let it cook like this for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Now I'm just going to start adding my chicken and my potatoes right back into this skillet. Don't leave any of that flavor behind. Make sure we get everything nice and covered. Now we're going to put it down in that 375-degree oven and check it after 15 minutes.
Mine was perfect after 15 minutes. I didn't even have to broil this, but if you wanted to, you could. Oh my gosh, this was so amazing. Me and Patrick and Maddie all just absolutely loved it. And if you wanted to make this in larger portion size, you could brown everything up, then put it onto a rimmed sheet pan that had a good lip on it, make your sauce, and pour it over the top and bake it up like that. It'd kind of be like a skillet meal finished off as a sheet pan dinner. Totally delicious though. Today we're making a ground beef dish I saw Cowboy Kent Rollins make a good while back. Can't get it off my mind. It's a Big Mac skillet. We're going to start this recipe by making our secret sauce. It's all very simple, pantry staple ingredients that you probably have on hand.
It starts with 1 cup of mayonnaise, 4 tablespoons of dill pickle relish, and just for your information, all these 4 tablespoon measurements, that's also a 1/4 cup. The recipe called for 2 tablespoons of honey mustard. I only had this Dijon. It also said that you could use a spicy mustard that Kent Rollins sells. I'm going to put in almost an entire diced sweet Vidalia onion, chopped up really little, 4 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 teaspoons of white vinegar, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and I'm going to throw in a little bit of black pepper. Mix all of this up to combine it, then we're just going to set it over to the side and get started on our ground beef. I'm browning up 2 pounds of hamburger meat. That is a lot for me. You don't usually see me use this much meat in a recipe. And Kent Rollins actually uses 3 pounds of hamburger meat in this recipe. That's just too much for us. So I knocked it down to 2 pounds, and I'm just going to cook it up. I'm going to season it up with a little salt, pepper, and garlic. I like to use this blend from Kinder's or my Auntie Nono's if I have it on hand. We're going to assemble our Big Mac skillet in my 12-inch Lodge cast iron skillet. Cowboy Kent made his outside with hot coals in a big old Dutch oven, but we're going to do ours inside. We're going to layer half of our meat mixture in the bottom of this skillet. Then we're going to put about half of that secret special sauce we made on here, kind of smooth it out over the top. Then we're going to come across that with 2 cups of cheese. We're going to use 1 cup of cheddar and 1 cup of mozzarella. Then we're just going to repeat that, layering on the other half of our meat, the second half of our special sauce, and them 2 cups of cheese again. Now, to make it a Big Mac skillet for our bun, we're going to use some good old grand size canned biscuits. Just going to take each one of them and kind of flatten them down a little bit in my hand, then going to place them right on the top. And it's going to come out sort of looking like a Big Mac. And we're going to bake this in a 350-degree oven, just waiting for our biscuits to get pretty and brown and cooked all the way through. Probably need to lift up one of your biscuits and make sure it's not doughy on the bottom. Then you'll know it's done. Now that it's all browned up and pretty, we are going to brush on some melted butter and sprinkle some sesame seeds on here. Make it look just like a Big Mac. I wanted to make this when all the kids would be here for family dinner, and I'm so glad that I did. It was plenty enough to feed us all, and every single person here absolutely loved it. It was a huge hit. That sauce is so amazing. Of course, this ain't the kind of Big Mac you're going to eat with your hands. You got to use a fork. And sorry I didn't get down in there and get you a nice, tight close-up like I usually do. I just took a bite of this and I immediately went down and ate dinner with the rest of the family. I can't say enough good things about how delicious this recipe was, except that you're just going to have to try it for yourself. I've tried lots of things to make onions not burn my eyes, and actually this is a really good tearless onion. If you can ever find those in your store, whoops, y'all didn't see that. And they're really good. But if you have an onion that is really strong, just rinse it under some water and dry it with a paper towel, and I swear that thing will not burn your eyes. Today we're making a Crescent lasagna. I've already got a pound of ground beef frying up over there on the stove, and you can see all of the yummy things that is going into it. It's super easy and quick, and I'm just using up a bunch of cheeses out of my refrigerator too. This also takes 2 rolls of Crescents. I don't have those out yet. Got this smelling good in here. Now I am going to take a big old spoonful of garlic, throw that in there. Oh, that smells good. If you could just bottle this, well, I guess you can bottle it. I got a bottle of garlic, but it smells so good with the onions and the ground beef. And of course, you could use sausage here. As a matter of fact, this original recipe called for Italian sausage or ground sausage, but we just prefer it with ground beef. Something else that was not in the original recipe is spinach. But I'm going to wilt some down in here. It never hurt anybody to get a little extra spinach. I'm throwing some more garlic in too, just a little bit. If your family likes mushrooms, you could definitely throw mushrooms in here. I mean, it's yours. Put whatever you want in it. Now let's go ahead and take this 8-ounce can of just regular tomato sauce. That is all that's going in here, not a big jar of like spaghetti sauce like we usually use with a lasagna. And I'm going to put in a good-sized tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Now, let's get all this mixed together. You know, when I make a regular lasagna, it makes a whole lot. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love having leftover lasagna. But to me, this is like much more doable size of a lasagna. It's not going to taste exactly like lasagna either because, you know, noodles and crescents are different. But to me, this is something that's like more doable for like a family of 4 or even a family of 2. And while this is sitting over here simmering up for about 10 minutes, we are going to mix up our cheese layer. This is super easy. It calls for 1.5 cups of cottage cheese, but that is about what I had left out of this container of ricotta. I just had a little bit out of this, so I'm going to finish this up today. I'm going to put in about 2 teaspoons, and I'm eyeballing. I'm using dried parsley. Of course, if you had fresh, that's best. And always that 1 egg. We're going to mix this all up and just set it aside. I actually prefer cottage cheese in my lasagna. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I do. I've got a 9x13 casserole dish here. I did spray it. As you can see, I don't have crescent dough sheets, which is fine. The triangles work just as well. We're going to pinch them together. And that is my first can of buttery, flaky crescents.
Flaky. I like flaky over here.
I'm going to trust the recipe, and I'm not going to pre-bake the bottom of this crescent roll. I'm just going to go with it this time. But now we're putting a layer of mozzarella cheese. The recipe that I read for this used slices of cheese, and it said to use 6 slices on this layer. So that is probably a cup, somewhere in that range. Now we're going to take half of our meat mixture, and we're just going to spread this out as evenly as we can. Now it says to sprinkle about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese on this layer. I'm sure it's talking about the grated kind, but I had just a little handful left in this bag, so I'm getting this used up. Now the recipe says to put all the cottage or ricotta cheese layer right here, and I'm worried because mine is a little bit runny, but I think it's going to be fine. It's going to be just fine. Now we're going to take that last little bit of our meat sauce and put it right over the ricotta or the cottage cheese, whatever you're using, right over that layer. Now we're going to use the other about maybe 3/4 cup of mozzarella cheese. Again, if you have slices, it says to put 6 slices of it here. It's going to be cheesy, that's for sure. Now we're going to take our second roll of crescents, and we're just going to do them like we did the first roll. Unroll them, pinch everything together. Now I'm just going to drizzle a little olive oil on here, take my brush and spread it out all across the top of the crescents. Now I'm going to take that shaker of Parmesan cheese and sprinkle a little across the top. And you know I got to have a little bit of green on top. I'm putting some Italian seasoning on here. I'm going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. Oh goodness, this looks and smells so good. I love it when you can see the cheese getting sizzly. I wished I could tear into this right now, but it's going to have to sit here a few minutes, which is perfect because I'm actually taking this over to Callie and Ryan's house to have a little family dinner over there tonight. As I mentioned earlier, this did not disappoint. The Crescent lasagna got 5 thumbs up. It was, for some reason, a lot easier to me than making regular lasagna. Even if you use the ready-to-cook noodles, it was great. Watch this video next to see our favorite crock-pot recipes from 2024 because we can never have enough slow cooker meals in our recipe box. Thank you, friends, so much for watching and welcoming me into your home this year. Your time is precious, and I never take for granted that you choose to spend some of it here with me. I appreciate you, and I wish you a very happy and blessed new year. I'll see you in 2025, and until then, I send you love from my kitchen.